Start this from the beginning. Yeah, I got all my excuses out of the way first. Okay. All right. Hey, thanks for having me. I'm with the Penn State Extension Energy Team. I lead the energy team, which sounds more lofty than it is because this is all the people that are on there. Um, so probably like you, we wear a lot of hats. I get to do some ag business work along with I was co-founder of our Penn State Butcher School we do at University Park. So lots of fun. Uh, we have a really great newsletter. I don't write it, but it's really great. So you guys, it's free. If you guys want to just, I don't know if you guys do newsletter stuff, but feel free to copy that, uh, subscribe. It's free, of course. And then you can use those articles yourself or rewrite them however you guys want to do that. Okay. This is one of my colleagues loves this, the energy triangle, and we talk a lot about how this energy thing has shifted. Daniel and I spent some time before everyone else came on talking about where we're at in natural gas, and uh, we're going to talk a little bit about that. But as these things shift, that policy and technology, we're going to see more shifts in this energy world. And there's a lot of interesting things going on. Right now, I just finished up a conference in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So I'm joining you from a hotel room. And all the talk is about the future price of electricity and what's going to happen with that, right? So some of the influencers here, I always say with energy and agriculture, people don't know where it comes from, but they do expect it to be cheap and plentiful and ready on demand and all that kind of stuff. Same thing with energy. We don't know where that power comes from when we flick on the lights, but boy, we're mad if it doesn't work, right? Uh, you've probably heard a lot of talk about AI power needs. The economy, of course, has something to do with this. Policy has a huge component of this. What are we going to encourage and discourage on that state and federal level? We share the PJM, the biggest regional transmission organization in the country. And the presentation yesterday by a policymaker here started off with a shocking statement. The PJM system is broken, right? And we're aware that it has a lot of problems. PUC is more of a Pennsylvania thing, and I'll explain that just a little bit. That's the Public Utility Commission for us. Uh, where energy is butting up against agriculture, which is kind of everywhere, yeah, it becomes an issue. And then we have perception issues with energy. I've never seen a time where I've seen folks who root so hard for or against different energy sources, right? And what we're seeing, a lot of decisions are being made at the township level, small rural townships in Pennsylvania, where we're seeing a lot of people coming into meetings pretty angry about energy things, energy related things. So first, let's talk about natural gas production in Pennsylvania through um, Marcellus and Utica we have here, but most of ours, probably 80% of ours, is coming from Marcellus gas. Doesn't matter. Uh, and I put out the question, did we peak here? Have we peaked yet, right? You can see Ohio, you guys have had a kind of a similar peak and then a little bit of a fall off. Not big, right? Interesting part of this chart, this is from EIA, is we're seeing this gas production from rig, and it really bounced up hard early 2021 into 2022. It's diminished some now. Now we're expecting to go back up per rig, just longer laterals mostly, and we're just getting this done in a shorter period of time. So I reference here, there's a couple kind of record wells drilled. We did a 23,000 foot lateral in 5 days, which is just a remarkable amount of time. They never changed the bit, all those kind of things. How does that affect us? How does that affect landowners? Uh, We were earlier in signing gas leases than you were in Ohio for the most part. A lot of our leases have old language in it where it might have a 640 max or a 1280 max on there. And those max rules just do not work anymore. When we're drilling out 20,000 feet, you really can't have a 1280 acre restriction. So landowners are being approached to alter their lease. And most of those approaches are happening like this, where they're saying, hey, you can either sign off on this modification or we're not going to drill on you. Okay. So they're not landowners. We're not hearing them get much back out of that. Right. That less time drilling per well is a lowered cost for the gas industry. So they're really making gas a lot cheaper by doing that. And our leasing activity here in Pennsylvania is only happening near existing activity. That number has gone down from what it was at its peak. So just to spill the beans here, because I still do get a call, not many, every now and again by someone involved in leasing. And we're usually looking at $1,200 to $1,500 an acre signing bonus and 15% royalty with deductions, right? So that's quite a bit lower than what we were seeing before. So ever since we got the new administration, people are asking questions outside of those key territories of Pennsylvania. Hey, when are they going to come here? We hear drill, baby, drill. When is it going to happen here? And I put 30 versus 10. So the last call I took, they drilled a test well and they believe it has good gas and they can get 10 million cubic feet per day. But for the exact same money, they can go exactly back where they're already at and get 30 million cubic feet per day. Some of those wells are over 40 million cubic feet per day, right? So what's the same? Well, the basin price here, this would affect you and in Ohio and in Pennsylvania. It's not getting, it's not climbing, but it's holding its own. This should be profitable production here. And the future prices are holding steady and so forth. And this all depends on us. In this basin, we have had this repeating pattern over 10, 15 years of every time the price goes up, they overproduce and then the price goes back down. We do suffer a discount, by the way, if you're not aware, compared to the NYMEX or Henry Hub price. We're a little lower in here. Now in Pennsylvania, I alluded we're producing in the same region, Southwest PA, which we're kind of your cousins over there in Ohio. It's very similar stuff. Northeast PA is very prolific gas, but it's all dry gas. Those are some of the champion wells we're seeing there, but it's just all methane, right? And I put up the headline there, Ohio has oil. Hey, so you guys are really looking at maybe delving into new territories there by producing some oil. Pennsylvania is looking at that oil window a little bit, but it's just not going to be near as promising. Okay. Markets are still confined. That's why it's important that those producers not overproduce to keep that price steady. But the things that could change that, and to the policy aspect of this, that drill baby drill thing, if the new administration is opening up permits and permitting faster for liquefied natural gas, we do have that market. It goes across Pennsylvania and over into Maryland for LNG. Europe and a lot of U.S. allies are starving for energy, so LNG prices should be good, and that would open up a little bit more capacity there. And new pipeline, we're not seeing a whole lot of new pipeline being built in this territory, but you never know. I note that shockingly, 1 BCF per day isn't many new wells these days. So even when we do increase capacity, it just doesn't take that much to hit that new capacity, right? This is a very old map of ours, and I just wanted to show it to you, though, to show you our approximation. And we drew this map, so those lines are ours if they are incorrect. So you can get an idea of the wet-dry window for Marcellus and for Utica, and the Utica oil window and so forth. And where you guys, I think, are hitting oil is really in what we have labeled as the Utica wet area. You're running into some more oil there. And so good for you, good for your producers, landowners that are getting royalties, et cetera, right? So I'm going to shift gear into solar. And here's what happened in my world. 2018, we're not getting a whole lot of calls about natural gas. We're doing other things, and we started to get calls about solar. And where I live, I thought, boy, that sounds like a scam. But it wasn't. It was a real lease offer. So what we're seeing now, it really took off in 2018. A lot of people, we're estimating between 5 and 10,000 landowners received a lease offer in that 2018 to 2020 period. Okay. And that was all for that grid scale solar. Um, and then we saw some push for the residential, and then something in between. That difference between Ohio and Pennsylvania is I believe you folks have community solar. Is that right? So we don't. We don't have legislation that allows it, but we have a weird thing called merchant generator solar. It's called customer generated merchant generator. Uh, Unlike it's just a large net metering project, but net metering sounds like to me, it always sounds like you're using some of those electrons on site. And in this case, those merchant generator solar arrays are not using any. There's not a light bulb in a shed kind of thing. There's nothing like that going on. Strange court case, famous to us, the Homrich case, allowed them through APES, Alternative Energy Portfolio Standards, to install up to 3 megawatts of solar. Okay. And then the strange thing about that is you can kind of park 3 megawatt projects next to each other. So that's where we're seeing all of our real action right now in the solar world in Pennsylvania. I'm going to talk a little bit about that and how that affects potentially some farms as well. But here's an issue that affects, all of us in the PJM region here. Last summer, I believe June of 2024, this was the electric shock. So the bid for that PJM footprint, the bid in June of 2024 is putting that price in 2025 in front of us, right? And we don't expect that to get any better for this year's auction for next year's power, okay? And what's going on here is that this PJM interconnection has so much growth on it that it's akin to adding a New York City to our grid. Just the whole city, go power it. And we're not sure where that power is coming from. And at the same time, I should mention, we're retiring coal plants all over the place, right? So we're losing that really good baseload power, and we're not approving projects very quickly, right? So because this has such an effect on farmers and farmland and rural communities and so forth, we get a lot of calls, mostly about solar, a little bit about wind, and we might see wind pick up a little bit, but we're not sure. I'd be curious what you guys deal with in Ohio here. But the biggest pushback has been from local residents who just don't care for large scale solar, large scale wind. And as you can see, it's mostly a view shed issue, a visual issue, right? But also you'll see on solar, in almost tied for first place is loss of ag land. And it certainly is a flaw at solar, how much property it takes. We estimate, frankly, you can build solar on 3 acres per megawatt if you pack it in there tight, but no one does. So we're looking at really 5 to 10 acres per megawatt. And part of that depends on the scale size and those kind of things. And I should mention that the best farmland is where everybody wants to build everything, right? That's where we want to build houses and Walmarts and school districts and uh, commercial, residential, industrial, and solar as well. It's easier to build on farmland, right? So I mentioned these large net metering projects, and these are interesting to us because these are 3 megawatts or less. So we're usually looking at anywhere from 15 to 30 acres on these things, okay? Can't exceed that 3 megawatts, but as I mentioned, we can build 2, 3, 4, 5 of these right in a row. We have to fence them separate. When I say we, I haven't developed any solar projects. They're not required to have an on-site load, and there's a huge increase in this. And there's 2 reasons why folks are interested in this. One is you can't get a new project on PJM right now, but you can through PUC, and that review process is a lot faster. The second reason why these things are popular is right now, by Pennsylvania law, they pay these folks retail rates. And this is not popular with PUC. This isn't popular with our investor-owned utilities because they have to, by law, pay them full retail rates. There's quite a difference between retail and wholesale. So we put up 945 of these projects in 2024, went through that PUC process and quite a lot of megawatts along with that. Now, I don't know if you folks deal in the solar world or not, but we do a lot. And there's everyone will say to us, why don't they just put these on warehouses or put them over parking lots or, put them on every house and so forth? And here's why. There's economies of scale here. As you can see, when we look at utility, the bigger you build these things, for the most part, the cheaper per megawatt you can go here. So this chart kind of shows you that, for every dollar I spend for utility, I'm spending 3.20, 3.25 for household kind of residential stuff, right? So what we have in Pennsylvania, it's and those of us who worked with natural gas development, we always had some folks who really loved this stuff, and we always had some folks who really hated this stuff. But really, we kind of had people towards the center, maybe leaning towards hating it or leaning towards loving it. But it was kind of an 80% mark. 80% were reasonable. And what's important for us as educators is those 80% are willing and able to learn. They're open to hearing and learning, whereas people at those far ends really are going to struggle to learn something new. But what we have, a lot proposed, few built, a lot of fighting about it. Right? Ag issues, which we take seriously in the College of Agriculture, placement, location, farmland preservation, which we'll talk about here in a second. The landowner benefits are what's driving this. Of course, we can't grow corn and soybeans and compete with lease rates we're hearing from solar. So, but at the same time, these ag issues, these could really help the cash flow of a lot of farms, right? And then we put in agrivoltaics, which I know some folks at Ohio State are doing some great work on. So ag versus energy, Pennsylvania does really as well as any state at preserving farms. Okay, PDA deserves a lot of credit for that, but we still are losing a lot of farms, and probably in the same way most folks are. But Between 2017 and 2022, and I want to use those dates, especially because uh, we know we didn't have a whole lot of solar development occurring at that during that time. We didn't have a whole lot of farms there that were being converted to solar. So we know that about 200 acres of that farmland loss that you see on that chart were belonged to solar. Okay. That means that we lost about 220,000 acres to other things. And those other things were residential development mostly and a little bit of commercial development, right? So those areas where we're losing good farmland, our best farmland, which is really southeast Pennsylvania, Lancaster County, if you've heard of it, is probably one of the most productive ag counties in the country. And we are losing its population is creeping up to near 600,000 people, and it's really hard to balance those people and their needs in that commercial and residential space with farmland. So some of that farmland is selling for $50,000 an acre, and I really don't know how anyone's making money off of agriculture if they're paying $50,000 an acre, right? So that's going to be a problem for us. So it's not solar that's doing it to us, but solar contributes to that. And it's something that we in the college should take seriously. So, agrivoltaics, let's recognize this first that most of our solar developers are not ag savvy. They don't know much about growing plants. They don't it's not in their plans, nor should it be, to think about now, what am I going to grow under there and how am I going to manage it, right? But we know that there's going to be vegetation management as a contract out there. I'm not sure what you folks are seeing in Ohio, but in Pennsylvania, because it's still relatively new, we do have some farmers and landowners who are kind of saying, yeah, I'll do that. I'll graze over there. And they're doing it on the cheap or for free in some cases. They're offering that. Now, most developers aren't going to allow that to happen. So those farmers are going to have to prove their bona fides before they sign those contracts. There's a tremendous amount of liability insurance required, and there's a lot more to it than just throwing your sheep out there, right? But we have some folks who are delving into this business. It's a relatively good business model to get into. So we'll see how that works out. Our rates, we're seeing them pay sheep grazers between $300 and $800 per acre per year. What they're competing with is mechanical mowing, which is usually going about $150 per mow. And if they have to do 2, 3, 4 mows per year, that sheep grazing really presents an economical alternative. What we can't do, I don't think, in a large scale, there's a lot of great ideas about what else could we do under panels. I think about once a week, someone sends me Jack Solar Farm out of Colorado. That is not an economic model that I think we should follow. It's very small scale. They have a lot of volunteer help and a lot of subsidy coming into that project. It's just not repeatable over and over again. So what we're seeing work right now is sheep grazing, mowing, and we're looking at haymaking. I know Ohio State had some haymaking trials out there. We spoke to some of your folks about that on a podcast with them, by the way. And one of the issues is that equipment. For those of you who are on the agronomy kind of plant side of this, that equipment getting around those panels and especially around those ends. We're hoping maybe we might team up with Case New Holland and maybe some others to not build arrays like on a campus site or something, but actually to go do the real deal and look at settings across the state under different conditions. Some that have really great forage growing under them, some of them that are kind of crappy forage growing under them, and see what could work here and what couldn't work here. We can test if we're losing electrons by dust and so forth. We can certainly test and see, how many times did we have to back up and so forth to get around the end of the row, all those kind of things. This makes sense to us, and maybe as a combination with sheep grazing or maybe on its own, because it is when we're just mowing, we're leaving that grass there. That might do something for the soils, but we believe that there may be something else that can happen there with hay, either subsidizing that sheep feed in those August, September kind of time frames when our grass, maybe we have that 2-3 week drought we usually get during that time, or they can sell that and move it off site. So we're looking at that. Now, one of my colleagues, my slides are terribly misplaced because I just kind of put a bunch of different slides from several presentations into the same thing here. One of my colleagues, who's a really, really smart guy, he just put this, did a webinar for us last week. We hit 500, which is our limit, right? Which was cool. And his presentation was on what is the best energy source. And he chose nuclear and natural gas and wind and solar as his four out there. And it was all set up to just say, hey, there isn't one. We need kind of a little bit of everything, right? And we need to recognize and kind of have grown-up conversations about, what's going to work and what's not going to work and how that affects all those things around. Now, some of the things I thought might be great to talk about cross borders here, coming to our region, particularly with farmers and landowners. Carbon storage leases. I saw Peggy Hall with your Ag Law Center over there did a great webinar on that. This is probably a little bit bigger of an issue in Ohio and West Virginia than it is in Pennsylvania. I will tell you that I met with a company that was offering those leases several times, took a lot of notes, and I met with one landowner on this issue. I'll just share, because we're an internal audience here. I did not like that lease. Okay, those leases do not look very lucrative to the landowner. It looks like they're going to be parked there for a long time. On the plus side, it's not usually taking up a lot of room, but on the minus side, there's been a myth that this carbon turns to a solid in a short period of time, which does happen in certain parts of the world, but not in our part of the world. So they're going to have to hold down pressure on that for 100 years or more, right? And the lease runs for 25 years. So the landowner gets paid for 25 years. We got to hold pressure for 100. I don't know how that works, right? But it's something that I don't know if that'll get bigger in our region or not. It's all a geology issue of whether that's cost effective or not. The other issue is critical minerals, and I kind of put a question mark. Is that getting to be cost effective? We're seeing this from the waste stream of Marcellus and Utica shale wells that they're extracting lithium. I'm told it's becoming cost effective to do so. So we'll see how that happens. Kind of relatively new to our horizon is this next generation geothermal. We're looking at this maybe occurring over probably looking at 7 to 10 years. I think we're going to see some test wells and some test sites on this. One of our concerns that we've looked at is that liability issue for the farmer landowner who hosts that site. It will be interesting, a little different from the geothermal that we all might be used to, that was used, kind of just run some pipes around in your backyard to heat the water up to 55-degree kind of thing. This is going deep and looking at really capturing some energy. And the reason why it works so well with the oil and gas industry in combination is those are the folks who would drill those deep holes and do laterals, or in a lot of cases they're looking at a slanted well there, so forth. Some other things, big increase in demand for electricity, as I mentioned. I put in this. We're looking at $1 million to $1.5 million per megawatt to develop most projects, and we'll very site dependent, of course, and we're seeing a lot of power go offline, right? The last one for those of you who are in that conventional gas territory, we were talking a little bit, maybe as some of you were coming on, plugging orphan and abandoned wells. Federal government got $4.4 billion to do this, passed this down to states. Ohio has done a really good job with this. Pennsylvania has done less of a good job with it, but we've plugged a record number of wells. We believe so right now DEP has 30 some thousand wells, orphan and abandoned wells on their map. We know that there is a lot more than that, and the estimates of how much more is we believe we have between 300,000 and 800,000 wells. So even at the low end of that estimate, we are only getting 10% of those wells on the map. Part of that is because we began drilling in 1856, and I'm sorry, got that a little 1866 maybe, and we didn't start requiring anybody to permit those wells or have a record of it until 1956. So all of that stuff, and this would be true in Ohio too, to a lesser degree, all of those wells that are missing off that property are there. Now, the federal government has not re-upped a new well plugging program that was part of the IRA, but there's really not a whole lot of opposition to it. So we're hearing from both Republicans and Democrats that that's something that's relatively popular. And so we're looking at can we get more wells on the map and therefore show that there's enough demand and get more money allocated to some of our conventional gas territories because we have more wells to plug, right? So this brings us to the project I'm going to start in the spring here. It's just a small project, but we believe that our farmers and landowners know where all the dead bodies are buried. They know where all the old oil and gas wells are that are on or off there. There's a couple important things there. One is we believe that because we're Penn State Extension and we help you, grow your green beans and get a better yield off your alfalfa and put your kids through 4-H. We believe we're more trusted maybe in these communities than the DEP regulators are. And so the class we're teaching is very simple. It has very little science involved in it. It is to say, wouldn't you like to let's not kick this can down the road anymore. Let's make sure your kids and your grandkids don't have to deal with it. Let's identify that well, put it on the map, and hopefully get it plugged at some point. The other part of that, of course, is making sure that our farmers and landowners who host these wells are almost never responsible for these wells unless they alter the well. And that comes in two forms. One is some folks will illegally plug into them for free gas to their house. And one is that these things get in the way, so they knocked off a wellhead or moved this or moved that. So my message to my farmer friends when we're one-on-one is, don't do that. First of all, let's not touch or alter that well and take on that liability. And secondly, if you believe your great Uncle Joe did something back in 1962, shoot, shovel, and shut up, right? Just don't mention it. let's get that well listed, let's get that problem solved, and let's move on, right? Now, combined with that, and this, I'm not sure if any of this works. I'm a skeptic, but it might be worth trying. Is the reuse of some of these older wells, and you can see I wrote a lot of caveats in there. They can't be too old. So these wells, I've identified some wells in my territory that have wood casing, and it's amazing that it survived all these years. Those wells aren't going to work. Uh, need that well that still has structural integrity there. But there's an opportunity for either geothermal or gravity energy storage, which we're going to do a webinar on April 2nd. And I might have mentioned I'm a little bit of a skeptic, but these folks have a company who they are trying to do that gravity storage business. We have a professor of petroleum engineering who's looking at converting these wells, old oil and gas wells, to geothermal. Everything we're looking at has to be 3,000 feet plus depth to make those economics work out. And location is important here. If we have to transport that energy a long ways, it may not work, right? So things we've been asked recently, when are they going to drill, baby, drill? I alluded to that earlier. We aren't looking at a time in the near future where we're going to go into new territories. But we do have a decline curve that works across our basin that is going to make them, just to maintain what we have right now, we're probably still going to have 17 drills on that in the basin. That's West Virginia, Ohio, Pennsylvania at all times, just to maintain what the level we're at now. Second questions we're being asked is, will solar go away when the subsidies change? Well, we don't know how those subsidies have changed yet. We're just reacting to the traffic pattern. And the traffic pattern is we're still seeing a lot of leasing activity and we're still getting a lot of phone calls about it. Will LNG permitting increase gas drilling? Who knows? Data centers, Bitcoin, AI, brand new world here where we're going to probably see energy development that doesn't hit the grid. And we're seeing that right now with our 3 Mile nuclear plant that was set to shut down. And now Microsoft is buying all the energy from that, going to run their data center off of that. Some of our mini power plants that we're looking at are operating off of a single gas well or a waste coal site to power their operations. And when we think data centers, we tend to think in terms of big, elaborate, fancy looking Star Trek buildings. In this case, what we might see in our rural communities are more like trailers, okay? Boxes of servers and so forth, just connected with each other, right? And the last thing there that we get asked a shocking number of times is, will we run out of energy? When are we going to run out of energy, kind of thing. Well, we're never going to run out of energy, but it's a matter of how much do you want to pay for that energy. So those are our things. I'm going to stop sharing. I see and see if you guys want to have a conversation about any of this stuff. I see there's a couple things in the chat, maybe. All right. There you go.
Thank you so much. And I'm sure you will have plenty of questions. I didn't see anything pop up as far as a question in the chat, just a few comments, but I'm going to open up for questions. Just unmute yourselves. We're a small group. I think I saw Dale had a question. I'm going to put you on the spot.
Say what? I'm sorry.
I thought you had a question earlier, Dale.
No, but I tell you this, Dan, you and I are like the Cowboys. We've traveled a lot together. We just haven't known it.
Okay.
Because I tell you, welcome to my world, and you're one of the few people that we literally see a lot together, and I basically concur with just about everything you said.
Good, because I usually make Farm Bureau in Pennsylvania a little aggravated with me. So,
well, God bless you. So do I. Okay. But no, I concur because I tell you, everything that I'm on 4 pages of notes and everything you've talked about here, I can concur because you're seeing parallel development in all of those issues basically in Ohio
Mhm.
right now. And I tell you, I would love to come over and be with you in Pennsylvania for a while. I'd love to sit down and talk. We could talk basically for a long time.
There
But
you go.
I look forward basically to working with you, and I will send you my contact information or whatever. I think it'll be very beneficial for you and I and some members of this team and your team to sit down and talk, just basically to meet someplace and compare notes. I concur with the different technologies that are going on here, the different government issues, the pricing, all that stuff. Basically, we're seeing very parallel issues in Ohio. As a matter of fact, they are so parallel. If you don't like working in Pennsylvania, you can come here and still hit the
Yeah,
ground
well,
running.
you can never tell. We're having budget issues. I might just have to drive across the border. So,
Okay, but no, that's great. I really appreciate your time, and I'm glad basically the team here